The 10 biggest questions the Mets have to answer going into the 2026 season, answer in the 2026 season. We got a lot to talk about here. We've got a hard 10 questions. Before we get going into it, make sure you guys are subscribed to Mets'd over on YouTube if you have not yet done so. We're pumping out content this week. We have a video going out 3 times a week. Otherwise, after every single series. If you're listening to us, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google, drop us a rating, drop us a review, download, and subscribe. James, let's talk some Mets. Let's do it. It's almost opening day.
I can't believe it's almost opening day. I've said this every single episode start we've had this week. I'm going to say it in the next one again, but this came fast. The World Baseball Classic was a jet stream to opening day.
So fast. Even for me, from a content perspective, I got to do my predictions. I completely forgot about them.
Yeah, right. I'm going to try to do mine too myself. But I think the biggest question this Mets team is facing, and I think it's one that a lot of you guys probably still have. I think we don't think that's as much, and maybe some section of the fan base, but how much better / did this Mets team actually get better from what we saw last year?
And I think it's a fair question for most of the fan base to wonder, because when you see guys like Pete Alonso leave, Pete Alonso's 40 home runs, 120 RBIs, one of the best power hitters in baseball, and then you see the replacement being Jorge Polanco, who doesn't have those numbers, I could see why people would get worried. When you look over at, bringing in Bo Bichette's going to help there, but that's kind of part of the conversation as well. But let's talk about right field now. We went from one of the corner outfield spots being Brandon Nimmo, who we could basically write in for a 770 OPS every single year, 20 home runs, 80 RBIs, get on base. Now we're going with a rookie out in the outfield. In center field, we have a guy in Luis Robert. At second base, we have an old man playing second base who we hope has a bounce back. We lost Edwin Diaz. Our bullpen's not the same. I think there's, from the outside perspective, or even from not the live, breathe, die, every single thing Mets, it's a valid question to ask, but I do think they're better.
Especially because you don't often see a lot of baseball teams come into one season from the next with 5 new everyday starters. It's very hard to turn over a team that much in one offseason. And the Mets didn't, which kind of gives all of us the indication of how badly they wanted to change the personnel of this roster. But at the same time, again, we believe they are better. We think that this team, especially with now Bo Bichette hitting third, I think there's going to be a lot of success found with this lineup. But especially also for fans who are going to be in the ballpark this weekend, it's hard to see this many new faces. And we've gotten so used to everything. We've gotten used to Brandon Nimmo's walk-up song and seeing the same guys in the same spots every day for years and years and years. And they happen not to win. We talked about this a lot this offseason, but it's a very, very unique situation, how different this team is and how high the expectations are.
Yeah, I'm interested to see what the buzz is around the stadium. Like you said, you get excited to see your favorite players. There's a lot of new faces, a lot of new guys, some people that guys don't want on this team. So, it's going to be interesting to see the reaction from everybody, as well as the fact that I think part of the reason why we do think that this team is better is Jorge Polanco and Bo Bichette are great offensive players to add to this team. They can cover Pete Alonso's offensive production, relatively speaking. If you're just talking about from counting numbers, we love bringing in Freddie Peralta. What did everybody want this team to have? They wanted an ace. We went out and got an ace. We should have Nolan McLean for a full season. Kodai Senga's looking better. We have some health right now, which is really good. Those are the things I think people were worried about last year. They addressed it. It's just that the hitting might be better in a way that feels different than how it's been, because the Mets hitting's actually been pretty good recently.
Yeah, definitely. I think last year we scored the 7th most runs in baseball. This year I think we profile for that to be something more like a floor. But at the same time, 2 of the big additions. Not the biggest additions, but Marcus Semien is coming off 2 very bad seasons. He wasn't very good in the spring. I know people were saying he had a lot of hard hit outs, but those outs weren't super hard hit either. And then also Luis Robert. It's just it's been pretty bad for a few years now. We are the highest on him of anybody in the Mets baseball world right now. But at the same time, you could definitely see a world where it doesn't work out that way.
Yeah, and I do wonder, how Mets fans are going to react, if we're going to be able to just, kind of be calm for a little bit. Give it a second. We always come out hot. Maybe we don't come out the hottest this year. Who knows?
And, you ready for me to talk about the schedule? 3 West Coast trips in 5 weeks. It's a really, really tough first month for a very new team and some guys who might be on relatively short leashes, which we'll talk about soon.
But at the end of the day, I do think that this team is better. I think this team is more complete. I think this team is deeper, and that's one of the things that this Mets team struggled with last year.
Now, question 2, something else that they might have struggled with, remains to be seen. Lots of he said, she said. Do these guys like each other? What is this clubhouse going to look like after last year? Again, we've had lots of reports the clubhouse was not an issue, but you also, actions speak louder than words, and we have a whole new baseball team.
Yeah, I wonder. I'm going to say this. I don't care. I want them to win.
Fair.
And I don't think that there's a correlation between liking each other and winning. I bet you the guys on the Rockies are best friends. I bet you those guys are tight because they're getting absolutely destroyed every single night. So they got to bond over a shared trauma. But they're not good. I don't think being friends with everybody and being positive and bubbly and let's hang out after the games, I don't think it necessarily correlates to winning. That being said, it would be nice if they liked each other. I hope they do, but I just want to see this team win. And if that means they have to hate each other, I'm in.
Especially just the way of, again, we basically again have to build this clubhouse from the ground up. There's a lot of new veterans in the room, guys who've been renowned as great clubhouse guys, like Marcus Semien, Jorge Polanco, Bo Bichette around the league. People revere those dudes. But it's still going to come back to the leadership dynamics of Juan Soto and Francisco Lindor. Like those
That's
guys,
what we're talking about.
Those guys are the unquestioned leaders of this team. Day in and day out, everyone's going to look to those guys. And again, you have guys like Brett Baty and Francisco Alvarez growing into more leadership roles, but there's a team of mercenaries and a lot of guys who, good chance, are not here very long. Besides Lindor, Soto, and Baty and Alvarez, like we said. So can those two find the push and pull with one another, with the media, with the team, with everything, just to be proactive and productive leaders, which I believe they will, but it's a question.
And like I said, we know that winning fixes everything. It's really hard to be happy when you're losing, and the Mets lost last year quite a bit towards the end of the year. The Mets were winning at the end of the year. I don't think we hear any rumblings about an unhappy clubhouse or awkwardness. Everyone's happy when you're winning. If you're not happy when you're winning, that's a problem.
And again, the rumblings are neither here nor there. We talked a lot about them this offseason. But the actions of changing his entire team, that's where Correct. It still gets to me.
Yeah, that's where I go, something.
A lot of new guys. And then that's, again, I think the next big question about this team, just to kind of put a bow on all this looking back stuff, is what happened last year actually in your rearview mirror? Most of this team is different. They didn't have to go through this horrible collapse that we all watched together, but the manager and the two best players were part of that the whole way through. Is that stench gone? Because that was a stank.
It was bad. It was stinky. They again, we like the guys, so it's such a weird conversation to have because I have no ill will towards any guys that were here, and in quotations, part of the problem as to why the Mets couldn't get stuff done. But we, similarly to how we used to joke about we got to take 2024 and put it in the rearview mirror, where it was didn't win anything. It was a fun year. We're not going to take that away, but we didn't achieve our goal. I think similar to 2025, let's completely flush it. Forget it. 2025 didn't happen. Go out and be the team that you're supposed to be in 2026.
Again, hoping that can be done, but it's easier said than done to put something that horrible in the rearview mirror like that. I think it will help that a lot of these players are different and that some of these guys are younger, but I do wonder about. Francisco Lindor and Juan Soto, they look pretty happy going through spring training this whole offseason. So it seems like it is in the rearview mirror, but just to make sure that if you have a bad start to the season, if you have a big losing streak in June, to not let the snowball happen where you start looking at each other and be like, oh, is this happening again?
Yeah, no, someone needs to just, I think, hopefully push through what's going to be maybe some turmoil at times during this season.
And maybe that guy's Carlos Mendoza, which brings us to our fourth question. How long is Carlos Mendoza's leash as the manager of this team?
I'll be honest, I don't think long. The only problem with my theory is that who's the next guy? Because you don't really want a team that's supposed to have high goals, high aspirations, to go with an interim man. It's a scary thing to give the reins to somebody else, especially when you had this entire plan in place for it to be Carlos Mendoza. So maybe that's the thing that shakes away how quickly he could get yanked from this job if the Mets were to struggle. I also don't think they're going to struggle. I think they're going to struggle maybe in April because, again, the schedule is crazy, all the West Coast trips. But I don't think overall this team's going to struggle. I do think their worst will be hovering around 500 for a couple weeks, playing even baseball. There's too many talented players. There's too many good guys on this roster, the way that it's built for them to kind of plummet like they did last year.
And also at the same time, the team has been a little bit mum on Mendoza's contract situation. You don't often have the term lame duck managers in baseball, which means you always basically have a guaranteed contract for the season following the one you're in. And Mendoza, I believe right now, to what's public to us, he only has an option. I think it's a team option for 2027. That's not something that happens very regularly. And it does make me think that the team is very much evaluating him as the leader, kind of as we go day by day.
And I think that's fair because when you hear and see some of the stuff that happened last year, again, we're not trying to say that the manager actually has this much impact, but it wouldn't be fair if I'm going to criticize Buck Showalter and not also criticize Mendoza. It seemed like this team did lack a leader in the clubhouse last year, and maybe he was that guy trying to put it together, and maybe that's just not us being involved and knowing what the day-to-day looked like. But the manager should be that guy to kind of even everybody out, get them back focused, kind of break the losing streaks at time when the players are maybe struggling or doing this. It just felt like there was nobody last year that could correct this team, and I do look at the manager when that happens.
At the same time, that's probably not fair to blame the manager when the players are playing poorly day in and day out. The pitchers are pitching poorly. The pitching was not built in the best way.
Can blame Eric Chavez, though.
Yeah, we can blame anybody we want, but there were just some not so good decisions, and it felt like, again, like we just mentioned, as things kept snowballing, no one got them out of it. Whether or not, again, that was Soto, Lindor, Mendoza. Mentally, this team would go into these horrible.
Soto tried. Him and
Yeah.
Lindor played great down the
Oh,
stretch.
they played amazing baseball, but
Yeah.
there was just like this mental cloud over this team for months and months and months. And it's like, I really hope that chain has been broken.
AJ, baseball season is finally here, and there's nothing like listening to the sweet sounds of the game while you're at home, enjoying some home cooking, whipping up a beautiful meal with HelloFresh. And there are many, many, many recipes to choose from.
I love those big portions, Scott. Over 100 mouth-watering recipes each week, including cuisines from around the world like some of my faves. Curried chicken and roasted sweet potato jumble, smoky chipotle beef burrito bowls, and sweet Thai chili salmon.
There's now 3 times the seafood for no upcharge. Impress guests or treat yourself with new grass-fed steak ribeyes.
So go to HelloFresh.com/FT10FM to get 10 free meals plus a free Zwilling knife, a $144.99 value on your third box. Offer valid while supplies last. Free meals applied as discount on first box. New subscribers only. Varies by plan. Because when dinner tastes this good, nothing hits like home cooking.
And maybe that's why we bring in some of the new guys. Fresh guys, guys who had successful seasons last year. 2 of them are the next biggest questions. Combine them together. What does Bo Bichette look like at third base? What does Jorge Polanco look like at first base? Are these the guys that are going to be playing the position at the end of the year? It's not that I think they're going to be off the team, but they signed Jorge Polanco to a 2-year deal. That makes me think that he's going to be able to play first base. We've seen some signs where it looks good. We see some times where it looks bad. He's clearly learning the position. Similarly with Bo Bichette. Wasn't a good shortstop. Doesn't look he's going to be a great defensive third baseman. How long is their leash at those positions? Or more so, how much more does Brett Beatty play these positions over these guys throughout the year?
Incredibly fair question. We talked about how excited we were to watch spring training and see how these guys played their positions. I think what we learned from spring training is that some good, some bad. There wasn't like monster steps taken forward, but also they looked mostly fine. There were a couple bad plays by each guy. Also, again, many fine plays that didn't make the same kind of rounds, but they look like they'll both be, at least to start, Polanco being an average defender at first and Bo Bichette maybe being a slightly below average defender at third. Can you grow into that? How well do you want to deal with these growing pains when, again, you have a guy who might be DHing on opening day in Brett Beatty, who's a better defender at both of those spots than either of these guys might be at this moment?
Which is such an interesting thing to have here, where, like, I personally would like to see probably Bo Bichette be the DH, truthfully, and let Brett Beatty play third because we know he plays it well. I don't care what the contract says with Bo Bichette, like, money-wise. Like, I know the idea of, like, paying your DH $40 million a year, or it could be $120 over 3 years. Like, it's crazy, but I don't really care. I want to win, and I do think that Brett Beatty at third base defensively gives us a leg up when I just want Bo Bichette to mash.
It's a sunk cost fallacy. Like, you already paid Bo Bichette the money. Whatever his role is, as long as he hits, does not really matter. But
And I think the Sean Manaea move gives us a little insight into the fact that the Mets will make the best decision that they believe. They don't care about the money.
And this plays on the question we just asked. We're talking about the leashes on these guys and the leash on Carlos Mendoza. Like this, there's a lot of pressure on this team this year to win. There's a lot of pressure on Mendoza, on the players, on David Stearns, Steve Cohen, everyone's organization, like top down. Like you have to show something this year. So again, I'm very interested to see how long leashes are on guys that have not played his position before. This will also be a great time to watch Kai Correa grow into his role.
Yes.
Because it seems like he's very well coveted guy in baseball. Seems like he could be the heir apparent to Carlos Mendoza, which is entirely possible. But
I hope not, because that means bad things.
Yeah, but like you got to be staying next to him for a reason. But also at that same time, like if he's that good and these guys get good at these positions, like there were some times where especially Polanco flashed at first base. You're like, oh, this could be a dominant defensive first baseman. And I don't think we haven't had that much experience the last few years with like really good defensive first basemen. So I think it could be it could be nice to see that. It could be a very different wrinkle that Mets fans might have just forgotten about for the last 5 years.
Again, I will say people to this, like Jorge Polanco's not going to hit like Pete. We know that. The bat's just not going to be the same. We'll never convince you on that. But I think you got to trust the Mets front office and David Stearns and honestly people who are just smarter than us in that they see the difference in bat, but they see what the difference in defense could be, and it seems like they deem that more valuable.
Yeah, and I think that's fair, but also at the same time
scary.
When you look across the diamond, speaking about Bichette, and probably thinking that there's another guy on the bench who might be DHing, who might be a better defender than the guy who's playing third base. Like it's going to be a very strange thing to navigate. And this also weirdly is basically a double Carlos Mendoza question. But in a season that was strange to navigate, navigated poorly. Now there's a lot of more high pressure decisions for a manager to make early in the season for a good team. I think we're used to seeing or I've seen in a while.
Yeah, especially because if you put Brett Beatty at DH, he can't really come in for defensive replacement because then you lose the DH spot. Like it's a weird thing, and that's why I'm like, I think just play him at third and put Bo at DH. We don't ever have to worry about him coming in for defense.
You think? But then again, I don't think they want to go into the season being like, yeah, well, this is not actually our third baseman. You know who told you guys this is a third baseman? It's actually not true.
I mean, you're right. They're going to give him every opportunity.
Sure.
I got to imagine there's 2 weeks of opportunity if you can't figure it out.
You really think it's that short? I think you got a month and a half. I think you have 6 weeks.
I mean, I don't even want to say it, but there's a chance it's a catastrophe at third.
I don't think there's a chance it's a catastrophe. I think there's a chance
He's a bad fielder, dude.
There's a chance that it's bad. Catastrophe is a stretch. It could be bad, but catastrophe. I mean, he's a baseball player. Like catastrophe.
It could be Mark Vientos at third base. I'm willing to say that.
I think there's no way, and we're clear nearly as bad as Mark Vientos at third base.
He doesn't have as good of an arm. He had negative 13 OAA at shortstop last year. He's not a good fielder. Never been a good fielder. He hits. That's what he does. I think we are completely glazing over the fact that his defense has a chance to be abysmal. That being said, just hit. Bo Bichette just needs to hit. That's all I need to see from him.
Very different caliber of defenders, but Bo Bichette and Alex Bregman last year almost had the exact same arm strength, according to Baseball Savant.
Sure, yeah, arm strength, it's fine, but that's why I'm giving it to Vientos in that he has the better arm at least. Yeah, 13 OAA. I know shortstop's a more demanding position, but that's bad, dude.
Oh no, it was. I'm not going to sugarcoat and say that Bo Bichette's a good defender, but I think that shortstop is more difficult than third base, no doubt.
No doubt.
You have to do more. You have to go both ways. And again, seeing him in the spring, seeing that some of the actions were good, seeing the way he went to his glove side, fine. I'm like, okay, I at least have some confidence in that conceptually.
I'm also interested to see if Kai Correa does what he did with J.D. Davis, when he was with the Giants. Fun, full circle Mets right here. J.D. Davis did play elite defense at third base for 3 months with the Giants, and a big reason was, unfortunately, he doesn't have this. J.D. Davis had a cannon of an arm.
Still back, yeah.
And they put him all the way back, basically touching the outfield grass. So maybe that's how you help mitigate the issues with Bo, but then he doesn't have the arm.
I was going to say, maybe you do the opposite with Bo.
Just play him in. Just go reflexes.
Just play even with the bag. That's what Bo Bichette does well. I was going to say Bo Bichette at least has good hands, but his hands are more fine rather than actually good.
Yeah. He hits.
So truthfully, what do you think is the leash? How bad does Bo Bichette have to play defense in April for him not to be the third baseman on May 1st?
Mark Vientos level.
But Mark Vientos was still their baseman for a huge chunk of last season.
Yeah, I know. Well, that's because we had nobody else to play the position for a minute. Brett Beatty stunk, as we always say, that first month. So there was no other options for a bit.
I do wonder, especially even with Polanco.
I would love Eduardo Escobar third base defense out of Bo Bichette, and he wasn't a good third baseman either. That's what I'm hoping for. That's my goal.
Just out there having a good old time.
Just play vibes and hit. That's all I want out of Bo. I'm worried about the defense because we know what it can be. I care about the offense, though.
Yeah, and I think the offense will be great, but then you also get to the concern, which is please don't take the field into the box because you can't let that affect each other because that's where you're driving your value. And we're both, again, sensationally high in Bo Bichette as a hitter. It's just this is questions about leash. How badly do these guys have to play for them not to be at these defensive positions, respectively, after 2 weeks, 4 weeks, 6 weeks, 8 weeks, whatever it be?
I trust Kai Correa. Get it right, Kai. Prove me wrong.
Yeah. Next question.
Next question. Nolan McLean. Is he an ace? I think that's a question. It's honestly probably a little unfair to ask that in what's going to be his rookie season. I think he can prove that he's an ace 3 years from now. I don't think that decision needs to be made today. But if Nolan McLean is an ace, this Mets team is scary good.
I try not to let the Mets fandom seep in when we just talk about players in general, whether it be on my channel or the Windup or anything else that we do. But with McLean, it really just feels like he's that sensational of a pitcher. I found a really cool stat about him last year when I was doing pitching rankings on my channel again. So last year, over the 48 innings he pitched, he had a 60% ground ball rate and a 30% strikeout rate. No one's to the day that we have, no one's ever done that in a full season.
90% of your
well, no, those are just
outcomes.
Bad. One's are batted ball, one's all plate appearances.
I'm saying 90% of outcomes though are ground ball or strikeout.
That can't be real because there's no way. Because there's no way it was only 10% fly balls.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah, that's we're not going to.
Why?
Let's do a quick look. I'm not going to math it out.
Why can't that be 10%?
The strikeout rate is all plate appearances, and the ground ball rate is only balls in play.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yes.
But then I'm going to find it still. I want to see.
But yeah, the guy who got the closest to this, it was 2021, like the best version of Logan Webb. It was 26.5% strikeout rate and 60% ground ball rate. Like Framber is the only guy who every year really sits with that 60% ground ball rate. I don't know exactly what Nolan McLean's future is, but the fact that you can, again, marry that poor of batted ball quality against you with the amount of strikeouts he's able to induce, like it's like to say the sky's the limit is actually very, very fair for Nolan McLean. Like it's
25% fly ball rate last year.
Yeah, so again, so that's the batted balls. But it's like he has it all. And there's also a lot of people right now rallying a bit against Nolan McLean. Two groups of people. One, the idiots who were just watching the World Baseball Classic and were like, oh, get up a home run, this guy sucks. Two, digging deeply into the data, especially the fantasy baseball folks, Nolan McLean's swing strike rate did not say he should have had 30% strikeout rate. It was far below. It basically said that he really deserves something more like a 23 or 25% strikeout rate, which is truthfully where I kind of expected to land. But his stuff is so good that guys get caught looking all the time.
That's exactly what I was going to say. I think there's a lot of fooling going on. I think because we've seen the pitching ninja clips, the tunneling is out of control. You literally, unless you have read the spin, you don't know which way it's breaking or how it's breaking. And
there's still a prevailing thought with Nolan McLean that there could be relative struggles against lefties. I think there will be, especially to righties, because a righty has basically no chance against the sinker and the sweeper together. And I do think last year, I'm going to pull up the exact number in a second, I think the walk rate went about to 11-ish% against lefties, which is not a good spot. But at the same time, against lefties last season, he threw 6 pitches at least 13% of the time. Like that is to get into an at-bat where like you might feel like you have a platoon advantage against a guy, but then be like, what? Anything can come at me in any second. We've seen him work on the cutter a little bit more this spring. Again, more velocity in that fastball will help with a ton. More command, more just maturation and growth with that curveball be a huge deal. Like he could be everything we've hoped and dreamed of for a long time, and having the attitude to back it up.
And he does just throw strikes, which I love.
Well, again, I have it right here. Where is it? Yeah, the walk rate against lefties, 12.5% versus only 3% against the righties.
And he's going to, still at the end of the day, there just are more righties than lefties. So I'm
totally.
Okay. Yeah.
Well, we'll see some stacked up lineups with lefties against him, for sure.
That's going to be like the Brewers and like those teams. They'll stack the lefties.
Yeah, and basically all the decently good teams. Like you're going to see, again, a lot of course, like Brandon Marsh, Bryson Stott, and those Phillies lineups, a heavy lefty lineup. Like that's going to be the big thing to watch with McLean. But at the same time, like you're going to see 87-mile-an-hour sweepers that break 2 feet, and you're going to like your jaw is going to be on the floor watching this guy pitch. Like,
start behind your hip and end up on the outside corner.
It's fun to have like a homegrown pitcher of this quality, like especially in terms of like Mets lore and Mets history. Like this is always the thing that we've been able to lean on, and
we got this.
It's awesome. Like the fact that we could possibly be getting into the next version of one, it makes me like so extra giddy to watch this team play. Like this. To have a starting pitcher and be like every 5th day, like I cannot wait to either be at the ballpark and be in front of my television to make sure I don't miss a Nolan McLean start is such a fun place to be as a fan.
Obviously we'll be at the games, but he might be a more fun pitcher to watch at home just because you get to see the pitches move.
Oh, definitely. But it'll be. I'm excited to see what kind of in-stadium stuff the Mets are doing for McLean starts last year. We know how much they love to do the in-stadium marketing. This is a very marketable young man who's incredibly talented. Like what stupid fun stuff around the ballpark for McLean days. Like it's just not. I'm excited to have it. What could be a real ace.
AJ, this episode is brought to you by our friends at Fox One. Fox One is where you can watch AJ Pierzynski. And I get this email every week now, AJ, that says what to watch this week on Fox One. They give you the weekly watch list. And now that is going to be full of Saturday MLB games with a little bit of you, a little bit of Ken Rosenthal, and your friends.
Absolutely. That starts next Saturday, Sky. You can watch all the games on the Fox One app. You can watch college basketball, you can watch college football, they have IndyCar, they have NASCAR, and they have great shows. Fox One is the app that really does have it all.
Start your 7-day free trial today. Offers are subject to change. Go to Fox One for complete terms and conditions. Fox One, streaming now.
Let's pair up the Oklahoma State boys too here. Carson Bench, right? Former roommate, I think, at Oklahoma State with Nolan McLean. Similarly, what can we expect from him? You talked about how the Mets have been known for, like, we can just print pitchers for a time. But then after the last big generation of guys being Syndergaard, DeGrom, Harvey, even Mats to an extent, it became hitters. We got Alonso, McNeil, Nimmo, even like now a little bit being Beatty, Alvarez. I'll just even say Vientos for the heck of it.
Andres Jimenez.
Andres Jimenez. Like, the Mets became hitter guys all of a sudden. And then now, again, it's gone back to pitching. Benj is kind of that next hitter. He's the first of the David Stearns hitters to come up. This guy seems like he's going to be very good, but I do want to temper expectations because he did struggle in AAA. He didn't show a ton of power right now in spring training. Didn't hit any home runs, and the exit velos were fine. Nothing to write home about.
Pretty good.
Yeah, but like nothing to go absolutely crazy about. Didn't put up any like eye-popping numbers. I think him hitting ninth is like the best thing. Hit him ninth, let him get comfortable in the majors. He's going to face Paul Skeens in his first game. Fun, enjoy. But like, I think by the end of the year, we're going to look at a guy who's like a very well-rounded 2-3 win player, hopefully.
I even think possibly better than that, because we were talking about this a little bit in the Mets'd Discord. Well, shout out to Mets'd Discord, active, nonstop. Shout out our guy Sean, he's the best. And shout out all you guys. We're going to drop a link to that again to keep building that up. But we crowdsourced some of these questions from them, so thank you guys for interacting. Talking about the other day, it's hard to remember the last time the Mets had this athletic of an outfield. And I think that Carson Bench is really going to impress Mets fans with his defense. I think that's like I think whatever we get from Carson Bench at the plate is gravy. Like, he's going to be a tough out. He's going to put his bat in the ball. Again, he might not get to tons of power, but the dude's a really, really good athlete. And you're going to see him catch balls in the corner outfield that we haven't seen corner outfielders get to in a long time with this team. You're going to see him make throws to gun down a guy trying to go first to third, trying to gun down the guy going second to home. And you're going to be like, whoa. Like, this is a tooled up baseball player. And then when the bat eventually does come around in a few years, then you can start to look at a guy like, wow, this is a 4-win player. But this is going to be a good young ball player, some of which we haven't really seen with the Mets at this athletic caliber in a while.
Yeah, and I think hitting him towards the bottom of the lineup, it's the perfect place for him, just because your job is get on base for the top of the order, turn the lineup over, get on base. You don't need to hit 25 home runs. Get on base for the big boys to drive you in, play good defense.
I can't wait to speak the term, second leadoff man.
Oh, God.
That's going to be so much fun.
Keith Hernandez, the first game that he's got, he's going to be like, I like Benji. He's a second leadoff man.
That's exactly, and it's going to be great. But also at the same time, Carson Bench has only played 56 games in the upper minors, split between AA and AAA. He ripped the cover off the ball at AA, but in his 24-game sample at AAA last year, it was a 172, 272, 311 triple slash. That's not very good. But at the same time, which I think is why the Mets gave him this amazing runway in spring, it was plus swing decisions. It was a very low swing and miss rate. His barrel rate, his hard hit rate were all very much towards the top of what was going on in the AAA league last year. He has all the tools to be a very good baseball player. But year one, you might just get a ball player and not a star.
Yeah, he won the job, so he deserves it. Glad to see Carson Bench up.
He stole this job. He gave the Mets no choice. I mean, the talk of an injury is a big part of it too. But like the way they talk about Bench carrying himself is like, these veterans seem like they love this dude.
Was it him? Was it talking about when Soto like knew who he was? He like gasped. He like couldn't believe it.
Yeah. It's like, really? And then Soto also made that comment like, we got that prospect. He might win right field. I think that was him. Like, people thought Soto was being a dick. I really thought that was Soto more so like kind of jab and Bench.
I think Soto's a lot more sarcastic and tongue in cheek than people give him credit for. I think he's got a little more personality than he gives off.
That's a question we didn't answer. Like, maybe do we see more of the Juan Soto personality this season? Like last year, first year with the new team, signed the biggest contract in sports history. There were times where he didn't really feel like he was really part of the squad until midseason. He lost his best friend on the team, Starling Marte. We just watched him World Baseball Classic have more fun than I've ever seen a human have, I think, in the history of the world. Dancing, a Dumbo, but it was fun. Like, do we see a little bit more of that Soto with his team this year?
What did he do? Like 2 shuffles last year? Under 2.5 Soto shuffles this year? I think we're going to see him quite a bit now. I think he's going to be comfortable finally.
I think we're going to see one opening day. He's going to shuffle. He's going to get the crowd going that first inning against
first
Skeens.
Pitch ball from Paul Skeens. He's going to fucking jump at him.
That's going to be fun. Now a question that's much less fun.
Not fun.
Let's go with the bullpen.
No clue. I have no idea. Again, I think you're a little more confident in them, and that's you. You're the pitching guy. I trust your pitching opinions with this thing. But put on my WFAN hat. Devin Williams stunk it up with the Yankees last year. Luke Weaver stunk it up with the Yankees last year. Neither of them throw hard. We have 40-year-olds in the bullpen everywhere we look. And then we're relying on Sean Manaea and Tobias Myers, who are starters. Like, let me have the WFAN take of, like, what is this bullpen? What is this?
I think it's more about if something goes wrong, what happens. Because I'm going to trust Devin Williams a lot as we head into the season. I think Devin Williams is going to, I said this yesterday, pitch with a chip on his shoulder. He wants to show he was great. He wants to show he can handle this city. He wants to show he can handle this big market team. And then also make good on the big contract that he signed, one of the biggest for reliever in baseball. Where at the same time, if there was any kind of falter, we do not have really good high-end bullpen depth. We still have very little about A.J. Minter. We have a lot of guys who, again, are approaching 40 years old who don't throw particularly hard. Besides Luis Garcia, who still throws gas. But that's for your only gas in your bullpen to be sinker gas. It's like you don't have a lot to paper over mistakes or any kind of unexpected things that are not expected.
Especially if we don't have optimal defense on the 2 of the spots in the infield. Like sinker gas, just a lot of ground balls are going to be hit hard.
But also at the same time, we might have optimal defense in the outfield. I guess
and up the middle.
Soto, hopefully it's average, but between Robert and Benj, it's like that's one of the best outfield defense duos in baseball this season. Again, I think that could cover up a lot of his mistakes, but there's wicked bust potential in this bullpen. Also, I think some boom potential because like Devin Williams, if he reverses form, which I expect him to, he's going to be one of the best closers in baseball. Still a little bit hairy unless we could possibly get any kind of development from Dylan Ross and Ryan Lambert, our boys.
I want to see how many times Devin Williams has pitched in Citi Field. How's he pitched there? Is he like throwing?
Does he like throwing there? I mean, we're also seeing like new tricks from Devin Williams this spring. We're seeing a cutter. We're seeing him mess around with a slider. Like for him to, again, already 31 years old, already having the fastball velocity go in the wrong direction, still having maybe the best individual pitch in baseball. It's about him giving new wrinkles to hitters because I think what Pete did when he hit that home run a few years ago was something I saw a lot of hitters do against him in the Yankees last year. Is you're just kind of putting the bat in a spot. And like a pitcher like Devin Williams, where he's focusing everything on basically throwing to the exact same spot every pitch before you to guess this pitch or the other pitch. And even sometimes if you guess right, the stuff was still good enough that you swing and miss at it. Just understanding that there was only one thing I have to cover as a hitter, it makes it a little bit easier to get through an at-bat against him, especially, again, we saw it last year.
4 innings in his career. He's never given up a run in Citi Field. I hope it stays that way.
Awesome. Forever. Don't give up any runs this entire year.
I'll be happy with that.
Yeah, it's fine. I mean, that's going to be the best one to watch, especially in terms of like the two sections of Mets fans, like WFAN versus Mets'd listeners.
It's trust the process.
Another one that the WFAN Mets fans are going to be very excited to answer. If this team is playing well, playing to the expectations that we have of them, what's David Stearns going to do to possibly keep this thing rolling and make sure we're still heading in the right direction as the season goes on?
Yeah, I mean, let's look ahead. How aggressive he's going to be at the deadline. We saw last year he was aggressive. He made all the wrong decisions, but he was aggressive.
Good process.
Good process. And at the end of the day, I'm not sure if any of those guys that we gave up are ever going to come back to hurt us in a way where we shouldn't have made those trades. But you even heard him talk about it at the end of the year. They probably they did a little looking in as to the guys that they look to bring in now to the Mets to play in New York, and they probably would have made different decisions had they considered those options. But there should be some good players available at this deadline. There are some bad teams with guys that are interesting. There always are, especially on the bullpen side. We're going to see him get really aggressive. People like to call him a prospect hugger. I don't agree. I mean, we just saw him trade out like 10 prospects this past trade deadline.
Yeah.
But like this farm system's loaded. I think it is time to consider cashing in even more than we already have.
And even past that, I think more so in the first few years, this is a team that's very much built in David Stearns' vision and likeness. So it's kind of like what was going on, if you guys love the movie Moneyball, like during the first hour of that movie, where it's like we've asked this question multiple times up this entire list, like what are the leashes like to the decisions that you made that like you kind of stood on the table for? Are you getting into them? Are you getting out of them? Are you doubling down on them? Like just whatever happens with this team from April to July, again, of course, that's going to dictate what happens at trade deadline. But it's kind of the deeper things that you see from a lot of these things that we've alluded to about Bo Bichette's defense at third base, like Jorge Polanco. Like, is it something you have to do at the trade deadline, getting a true corner infielder? Is it of course going to be getting more bullpen like every team does? Like,
this is going to sound crazy. Get ready for this. Is this like the 2015 David Wright obviously couldn't play third at times towards the end of the year, wasn't feeling the greatest, wasn't the sharpest, had big moments for us. But like getting Juan Uribe, even just to play a little third base, get a bump. Like, is that something that they could be looking at? Is that something they should be looking at?
Similarly, because this is coming down to the wire, of course, I think they're still going to negotiate if nothing happens by opening day. But like, if there's no resolution on Freddie Peralta's, like, do you go deep in for a starting pitcher with one of your eyes set on the rest of the 2026 season, but then also an eye forward to 2027 if that season were to happen, which we still think it will? Like, are you looking for guys with team control? Like, there's going to be very fun roster decisions with this team just because of how turbulent the entire roster is. No one's here for a long period of time. We said it before.
2 guys.
It's literally the only guys under actual firm contract past 2028 are Francisco Lindor and Juan Soto. This Mets roster has max flexibility to go in any single way, especially because, as we get to our last question now, which is a fun one, can't wait to track this season, this farm system is going to have a big year where it has to prove itself too. Yes. We're graduating Nolan McClain and Carson Bench, two of not only the best, clearly the 2 best prospects in our team, 2 of the best, not even arguable, I think 10 to 12 best prospects in all of baseball. They're both coming to this major league team. They're losing their rookie eligibility together at the same time, as long as Bench sticks with the club through the first few months of the season. It's now time for that next tier of prospects to kind of assert themselves. For Jonathan, hopefully to find Cutter consistently and take a step forward. For the guys like Reimer and Clifford to be big bats and like be the next Mets bats position player core, then come forward. And Or do those guys just get used in the biggest trade that we're not thinking of that happens midseason?
Maybe that's if Marcus Simeon's not the guy, maybe they're like, whatever, can tell Marte, let's go bring him in. Like I know he has the trade stuff going on, but like, is that something we're missing? Is there a player we aren't considering that these guys could be used for? Also, at the same time, and you mentioned it, who's next? Who's that next guy? Because I have all the faith that there will be someone, and we talked about this with Matt Eddy, but who's going to be the next McLean Benj in this organization? Because as good as the depth is, you do still need those guys to rise to the top. You don't want to end up being a farm system that just has a bunch of almost major league players.
Especially also because we got to see a lot of these guys up close and personal this spring. Like Jack Wenninger and AJ Ewing look like they're actually quite close to being major league caliber players. Like, if something happens to the rotation and maybe Manaea goes down, Tong looks bad in AAA. Like who knows? Maybe Tobias Myers is very vital in the bullpen as a 2 or 3 inning guy. Like, does Jack Wenninger get a shot at the major leagues this year? If something happens to Luis Robert, which is like, oh, I can't believe that guy would get injured. Like, is AJ Ewing a guy who's under consideration to possibly get a major league plate appearance this year? Like, and those guys to me are like the 2 ones with Tong to be the next number 1 overall prospect in the system. Or do one of these international guys like Wandy Asien? I can't get this guy's name.
I think.
Asinyen. But I think someone talks shit about having an Enye on that name. There's no Enye in the actual name on this. But it's Asigen. Asien? Asien. Maybe someone help us out in the comments with that one. But same with Elian Pena. Like, do one of those guys take the big step? Like,
Guy looks good.
Santucci looked nasty in that breakout game. Again, still no data on it, sadly. But like, even a guy like Eli Serrano, like, is he playing second base? Is he going to go tear up AA? Like, as
he's playing second base?
No, center field. Jeez.
Oh my! I was like, what?
I would got my next thought ahead of myself with Mitch Voigt, but like, who becomes the next guy? Because like we're starting to get, again, like we've talked about, cocky confident with this Mets system. So it's kind of about not even acknowledging the next guy's going to come, but just being able to figure out who it is.
Yeah, that's I guess the last big question, right? Is who's the next? Who are we going to get excited about this year? And what's great is that if you're subscribed to Mets'd Up, and if you're listening to us on Apple Podcasts and Spotify, we talk about prospects all the time here. So make sure you are subscribed. Make sure you're following us over there so you don't miss out. I think that's it, James, right? We got nothing else?
We got 10, maybe soft 12 questions facing the Mets.
You guys let us know down in the comment section, what's your biggest question for the Mets going into the 2026 season? Don't forget to subscribe. Don't forget to follow us on podcast platforms. You can follow James on social media at
James Chiano.
I'm Draft Neck Mark. Thank you guys for watching. We'll catch you on the next one. Peace out.
Peace out, guys. Let's go Mets.